Hello everybody and welcome back in for another episode of SwissCheeseBeats. My name is Daniel. This is episode 12 and today I'm going to be breaking down the Snare Drum Etude from episode 9 in reference to the middle school all-region Snare Drum Etude for Region 29 here in Texas. If you have yet to check out the Etude, a link is available for you of the music down below. You can print that out and follow along should you not have a copy of the music, which will help you better understand the breakdown that is about to follow. Before jumping into the breakdown, I do recommend a small list of practice tips, which I talked about in episode 10. If you did not catch episode 10, you can also find the link for that down below, or you can even click over here. Now, along with this etude comes a page of rudiments that each student has to perform at their audition. I will say that the more familiar and competent you are with these lists of rudiments, the easier this etude is going to be. The more time you spend on that, the easier it will be for you to execute the etude at a more consistent level. I will get into breaking down these rudiments for you in a future episode, but for now, let's go ahead and get to the etude. There are two trouble spots in the episode that I caution a lot of you to be very careful with. They really have to do more with timing than anything else. So if you happen to watch episode 10 where I discuss the 5 tips I suggest when practicing, one of those that I stressed highly is working with a metronome. So for these two trouble spots, it's going to best serve you working on them specifically with a metronome. If you don't have a metronome or you don't have one that subdivides, my 3 favorite metronomes that I currently use are listed down below. Check those out, see if maybe one of those will serve you a little bit better. So the first trouble spot you're going to run into is measure 7 to the downbeat of measure 10. Measure 7 starts with some 16th note broken flam accents, and then in measure 8 it goes on to play 16th note flam accents, which carry over beats as well as the bar line. It can be very tricky to stay at a consistent tempo with these if you're not comfortable feeling rhythms specifically on E's and U's of the beat. In measure 7, you start with a flam accent which begins on the downbeat, but then the following flam accent will begin on the E of 2. Then the next flam accent begins on the and of 3, and the next flam accent begins on the of 4. So it's very important that you're able to feel entrances on each part of the beat broken down from a 16th note partial. So something I always go back to, especially when it comes to feeling the pulse, is clicking and counting. Whether that's clicking your sticks, clapping your hands, but counting out loud what it is that you're going to play. So as I said, each flam accent starts on a different part of the beat, going all the way to count 2 of measure 8. So I'm gonna count all the way to the downbeat of 2 of measure 8, and I'm gonna simply hold time by snapping my fingers. However, I'm going to use a metronome to keep me honest, to ensure that I'm staying at a consistent tempo. 1, E, and 2. Once you feel comfortable with that, on beat 2 of measure 8, you'll begin to play flam accents consistently at a 16th note pulse. This will carry all the way through the upbeat of 2 of measure 9, going into 16th notes which are accented on count 3 to a quarter note release on the downbeat of 4 of measure 9. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to keep time in my hands, I'm going to do it with a metronome, and I'm going to count out loud the accents where the flams fall along with the accents of the 16th notes and the quarter note release on the downbeat of 4. 2 and E, 1 and 3 E and a 4. Once you feel comfortable with each one of those, I would suggest you put them both together. And then once you feel you have a great grasp of the pulse, then we can start to play it. So here's going to be measure 7 to the downbeat of measure 10 at 85 beats a minute. The next trouble spot begins on the downbeat of 13 and goes all the way to the downbeat of 18, which is letter C. 13 and 15 aren't that big of an issue because they are straightforward triplets. However, in measure 14, you have 3 sets of back-to-back accents over a triplet feel. What that does is it puts the first accent of the back-to-back set on a different partial of the triplet each time. The first one begins on the downbeat of 1. The second one's going to begin on the La of 2, and the last one's going to begin on the Li of 3. When I play this, I focus on what my right hand is doing in this entire measure. When you break up a measure of 8th note triplets, your right and your left hand are each playing quarter note triplets. They're just starting on different parts of the beat. Therefore, my right hand is playing 1 Li La, 3 Li La. And the first, third, and the fifth note in my right hand will be accented. The second, fourth, and sixth note will be unaccented. Well, this first, third, and fifth note that are accented will be the start of the back-to-back accent set happening in this measure. So while I'm playing this with a metronome, I'm focused on making sure that I keep my right hand exactly in time and my left hand follows to keep a nice, even triplet rhythm. The second part of this phrase that's a little bit tricky is measure 16 going into measure 17. In measure 16, you're still playing eighth note triplets, but at measure 17, you begin playing 16th notes, specifically with a paradiddle-diddle sticking. It's really easy to want to rush the 16th notes coming out of the measure of triplets before it. So you want to make sure that you have a lot of patience and you hold back and you're very careful about placing the right hand in the right spot on the beat to make sure that you stay in time. So here's measure 14 to the downbeat of C. Other than that, everything else is pretty straightforward. There is one sticking change I would suggest, and that would be at the first measure of letter A. Right now it's written in to play right, left, right, but I would go ahead and use natural sticking, making that right, right, left, right. So here's gonna be the entire etude at a practice tempo of 85. If you have any comments, suggestions, or other tips that may help some other students, please leave those in the comments section down below. Students, if you have a question about something that I did not cover in this etude, again, please also leave that down in the comments below. I will definitely get back to you, or you can also reach me by direct message on Instagram. Follow me at SwissCheeseBeats. If you enjoyed the episode, please give it a thumbs up. Also, please consider subscribing. That way you can make sure and catch the future episodes. The marimba etude will be out soon for you guys. So until the next episode, I will see you next time.